Hello, Point 3 Podcast. Spider Brando here today to introduce our very special video today. Point 3's Best of 2024 guest show, where we invited 5 awesome creators on to come and share their Best of 2024 thoughts, what they liked, didn't like, and we kind of took and clipped a little bit here and there from each of the 5 creators, compiled it into this one video to present to you guys. So I'm very excited to unveil it. I know we're about 2.5 months into 2025 already, but life and just other responsibilities unfortunately came first before getting this out. But without further ado, thank you to all the creators that came on to join the show, and we appreciate all the time you put into the research, prep, or whatever you did before coming on, and sorry for making you wait so long to see the final product, but here it is. So without further ado, introducing our very first guest, RomezGuide. And from here on out, you will be greeted and met with some awesome creators from YearOfTheCollector, RainyyKay, FunkoEyre, and ThwipMedia. So stay tuned, and all of their links and everything will be in the bio of this video to subscribe and see all their other work. So peace out and enjoy the show.
Alrighty, so here with the first question, our first guest today. Please, everybody, welcome Romes, friend of the channel, active member in our Discord. Romes, once again, we love having you here always. So thanks again for joining us in this to be a part of the year. But the first question we want to ask you, in terms of 2024, very big year for comics, right? And that's actually how we started talking. So, in your opinion, best comic of 2024?
First off, it's an honor being on here, but it's going to be absolute Batman, man. I haven't picked up a Batman title in a while, and I didn't know what to expect. This was not what I expected. For me personally, it feels like they grounded Batman in a different way to make him, it feels a little Marvel-ish, where like the drama is going to probably come from the villains that, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but I like how they set up this Batman, and it's a completely different twist. And then Scott Snyder's back on Batman. I haven't read a Batman ongoing since New 52 Batman, which is by Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder, and it blew my expectations away. I was on the fence, but I was like, maybe Scott Snyder will pull it off. And artwork, the storytelling is rock solid. I'm so happy I gave it a chance. Now I have to go and like read the other ones, but I haven't read Batman in a while, so this is very, very refreshing, and I just love the new aspects, and I hope that it just doesn't end after issue 5. I hope it like becomes an ongoing, because this comic is just, it's something special, and I don't want to spoil too much, but the fact that they made Batman a little more down to earth really solidified why I really love this version of Batman, to the point where I really want an ongoing series, if it's possible.
Yeah, for sure. And I think going on what you said in terms of the ongoing, I do think they extended it. If I remember hearing, I think Snyder came out and said that it was extended. But yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Having Scott Snyder back on Batman is always good, because for those of you that don't know, but Lou, and I know Louis super into this one particular story, but Court of Owls.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, who doesn't really love that saga? So yeah, no, absolute Batman is definitely one of the better new ideas, I would say.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because I've been kind of sour on the Batman stuff, because ever since he like fell from like space and landed on Earth and like not a scratch on him, I'm like, dude, he's basically just a superhero. This one he feels human. Like, that's what I like about him. And plus, I started working out again because I saw how built he was.
100%. Hey, Rome's, real quick for this one. I know a lot of people, a big piece of a comic of the year is kind of world building. What are your thoughts on the Absolute Batman Gotham?
It was very, how's the word do I put it? It felt very lifelike. It didn't just feel like the character. It felt like he was molded by the city, and even down to like what type of vehicle he like has compared to like the regular Batman. Like this is like, it's over the top, but it's not in a silly way. And the city kind of feels like I said, it feels like it could happen in like Chicago. Like it feels like very like grounded in reality more than actual Gotham. That's what I really appreciate about this Gotham, because it feels kind of Marvelized, if that makes sense. Like it's in the real world, not like a fantasy world.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I got another question for you. Yeah, if you watched, which I know you did, the Batman tier list that we did a couple months ago, we had Absolute Batman's design up there in the S tier, but some watching didn't like that. So, in your opinion, how would you rate the design?
It's, other than the Batman signal on his chest, it grew on me. I'll give it like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. It's just Greg Capullo's Batman is just always just going to be a number one. But that's the one that's when I think of Batman, that's the one I think of the most. But this Absolute Batman, I like the pointy ears that turn into like knives. And it's just the little things that make this costume like so epic, you know?
The first two parts are full of details. Just the little nuances that actually, in reading this, it's the details of that bat symbol, like of how ingrained he is into Gotham and the city, that actually I was like, I'm in, I'm sold.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sold.
And then even in issue 2 where like the burning of the city. Yeah. Oh, dude, that was... See, so that's why I kind of grew towards the new bat signal thing.
Yeah, 100%.
I like his dump truck, Batmobile.
Oh, dude, I don't think it's a dump truck. That's a transformer, bro.
One of for this, you know, because I think we have it on our list of nominees for top comic of the year. But when I was going down the list and I read this, you know, we all kind of did our thing with point 3, and Rome's, you kind of threw out your choice there too. There's a certain panel with a certain character before we get the reveal of this mammoth tank that he has as a vehicle. That's just, it's so epic, and I think it sums up, you know, this Absolute Batman is one to stay.
Oh yeah, like whenever I saw that, it just felt like, oh man, this feels like, this Batman feels like a guy with a sledgehammer and using it as his, what do you call it, as a scalpel. Ooh. That's the best way I can describe this Batman.
I like it.
Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of interesting to me that in the same year that we got a new, very different take on Spider-Man with the new Ultimate Spider-Man, right? The new Ultimate Universe. This year, we got Absolute Batman. Did you kind of have any like reserves when you first heard this? Because I think, at least for myself, I just thought, man, they're just copying the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah. So I heard, I'm signed on to Scott Snyder's Substack, and that's how he described it. He's like, we're gonna do our own version of Ultimate Universe. And to be honest, I was actually on the fence. It was either Ultimate Spider-Man or Batman, but dude, it's Batman, baby, you know? Like, yeah. And like, he was hyping this up, and I was like, because I was very on the fence, and I was like, how are you gonna make Batman like the Ultimate Universe? Like, it's a cool idea. I grew up with the original Ultimate Universe, so that's how I got into it. But with the way he was describing it, I was like, I'm not a fan of the design, because like when you first get the first issue and like the way he looks, all like it looks like a what do you call it, like a Viking type of like dude, and I'm like, I don't know if I could buy that. But then the storytelling is what bought me. Like, was what like like it made me believe in the idea, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And to just Scott Snyder, he knocked it out of the park. He knocked it out of the park. He made it like because the original Ultimate Universe was supposed to be like a hyper realistic version of like if it happened in our world, like using real they would use like what's the name, Samuel Jackson was actually mentioned in the original comic for the Ultimates, which they ended up using him for the which a lot of the comics for the Ultimates they used for the MCU. And with this, I was kind of hoping if he was describing it like the way he was gonna be just like for DC. And I'm like, let's see. But then whenever I read, especially that first issue, blew me away. I couldn't put it down. I was at work. I was like in my van, like I was like, oh man, this is actually really good. Like, but then when I got home, I was like, I gotta read this. I gotta get home. I gotta finish this. I got the second issue. I was in traffic. I was like, got home.
The lights flash behind you, and they're like, you pulled over. And they're just
I got 3 panels left. Sorry.
I live in Texas, so I was about to hear that. What do you call that Batman horn? Like, with all the trucks,
all them Ram trucks coming behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, I gotta agree with you, man, and I think you hit the nail on the head, right? And it's interesting because I think, to your point, it feels different from an Ultimate Universe, right? Even though in concept that's what it is, it's very different. Because I think, like we said, a lot of us were like, Ultimate DC kind of sound, because at the end of it, the Ultimate Universe, especially like I would dare say like the older Ultimate Spider-Man, as good as it is, don't get me wrong, love the series, it's not that much different. But it seems like between Absolute Batman and then especially with everything else that they're doing, it seems like the Absolute Universe is definitely going to be incredibly different, set itself really apart.
And I think that's what I think going off what you said, I think it's the uniqueness that they bring with the DC universe and the fact that they can actually work with the real world aesthetic. So I'm pretty sure I haven't read the Wonder Woman or the Superman one, but I heard many great things too. So
yeah.
But Batman's Batman, you know.
Batman's Batman, and that's why he's a nominee for this year. That's why Absolute Batman is a nominee. So, fantastic insight that you brought in with that for us. But
we've been talking about a lot of positivity, but we got to sprinkle in just a little bit here to get your perspective, because as one of our favorite creators that the Point 3 podcast has ever hosted on the channel, what project or moment didn't hit the way that you thought it would?
Oh man, I don't even know. That's a doozy right there. So
did you watch Madam Web?
Oh gosh, I did. Oh, I did. Oh no,
we had an Olympics and we had Madam Web.
I totally forgot about that.
Everybody did. Don't worry, everybody did.
I'm sure all the actors did too.
Yeah, they were like, "Wait, we made a movie?"
Not the first month, because they were doing nothing but yapping.
Nothing happened in that movie. Nothing happened. I fell asleep in that movie, and I
wish I did.
I went on a date with a girl to watch that movie. She liked it. I was like, "Did you?" She asked me. I was like, I was out.
Rome's was saying anything to make sure that they went well.
I loved it. Bro, we're gonna see a comment on this channel. I thought you love it. You told me you loved it.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
She's gonna see this and be like, I thought you said it was movie of the year.
Oh, I never said that. Oh, no. I changed the subject immediately. I was like, hey, where do you want to go eat? Like, hey, there's Nico's down the street or something. Let's go over there. Go eat a steakhouse.
That's one of those. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I gotta pee
again.
I gotta pee.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that, man. Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah, there was a couple projects that definitely disappointed this year.
It's always good, man.
It's always going to be. But 2025, right? one last question. Looking forward into next year, what are you looking forward to most in 2025?
The Superman movie. Like, there's so much writing on that. It has to be not only good, it has to like redeem everything DC has done in the last few years with all the ball drops that they've done. He has to knock it out of the park, put it in the stratosphere, put it at like the way X-Men 97 and Deadpool had everybody talking. They got to do the same thing with this Superman movie. I know Fantastic Four is coming out next year, but I'm not really excited for it because the way Doctor Doom is, like, he's not really in that universe. And then it's Doctor Doom and Reed Richards are like, they're like this, and the fact that you're not going to have them, and then it's in a different universe. So I'm on the fence about that one. For me personally, because it's Fantastic Four, like, but Superman, like, they're about. I know Creature Commandos come out. I haven't seen it yet, but Superman, like, that has to hit everybody. Like, that has to make people forget about Man of Steel, Zack Snyder and his little crusade. And I'm sorry, Zack Snyder fans, but this movie has to eliminate all doubts and perform at the box office. It can't be like Transformers 1 where it's like really good and then nobody really kind of watched it. This has to be like, no, everybody's talking about it. Like, CNN is doing a thing on it. Like, everyone is talking about it. I want to see the memes. I want to see everything. Like, that's how much I think. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna love it because it's James Gunn. It doesn't. But this is also a different type of movie James Gunn has done because he always does team movies. And it's never really focused on one character specifically. I think the closest one was probably Guardians 1. But to have just one character and a character that he doesn't really write about, because he always does the irredeemable characters and makes them redeemable. But with Superman, like, that's completely out of his ballpark. And this is going to be like the Iron Man to the DC universe. So if that's the one I'm excited for. I'm going to buy my tickets ahead of time. I don't care if like people are going, I'm going to wait till the reviews come out. Nah, I'm not going to watch no reviews. I'm going to go watch it and then I'll make my own like opinion, because I know right now, especially at the critics I don't like the critics right now because of Deadpool Wolverine. That should have been like a 9 out of 10. At 8, like 8.5, and like all I saw was 7s and like 8s. I'm like, nah, y'all are tripping. Like, after that, I have my eye on certain critics, and I don't like what I see now. So I see what you're trying to like spin. So this Superman, it has to blow it out of the water. It has to make Zack Snyder fans salty. I want to see those salty tears. I want to see the complaining, you know? Like, I want to see, oh, Henry Cavill could have done it better. I want to see all that. I want to see people just, if I see the hate for it, that means that they did job, like, but in a good way. Like, if it's good. And not just good, but like, it has to be awesome. Like, it has to be really good. And then that they're bringing from All-Star Superman, so they haven't revealed much. And it's just a lot of it is writing on this, and I'm hopeful that it does well, because Zach, what's the name? James Gunn knows comic books, and because I've seen him before where he talks about comics on his Twitter, and I have faith, but I have a grain of salt that like it could go either way. So that's the one I'm excited for.
Yeah, I love it. I think there's more to come on our thoughts on Superman. So, but yeah, no, I agree 100%. Again, for people that don't know, where can they find you in case they want to follow you?
Well, before TikTok goes collapsing, I'm on TikTok, YouTube at RomezGuide. I have a Facebook as well. Instagram, I don't really use it as much, but that's where you can contact me. But yeah, I'm on all platforms. So RomezGuide, but no space between. So, and it was an honor being on here. I love y'all show. Y'all are probably like top 4, top 3 podcasts that I watch. Probably the main nerd ones is y'all.
Oh,
The nerd podcast. This is y'all. Like,
I think speaking on behalf of all of us, coming from you, that means a lot. So thank you, man.
y'all have a good show, man. Like, I've seen the progression, and y'all have a good. Y'all just keep going. Don't give up.
Moving forward.
Yeah.
No, thank you, man.
Appreciate
you. But the viewers will definitely see more of you on the channel. So this will not be the last time that you see Romes. But make sure you do go follow him. And Romes, once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you soon.
Well, thank you. Deuces, guys.
All right. So now it is time to hear from the legend, Year of the Collector. We appreciate you joining us here for the Point Through Podcast Year-End Awards. We got to get right into it. First category that I want you to talk about for us, for all the Point Through people watching.
Bless you.
Got the sneezes for the little comic junior over there. All right, Year. I'm going to throw you a curveball now, even though you had it on your list. We're going to talk about best moment of the year for you. Could be shows, it could be comics, it could be a quote, it could be scenes. What stuck out? What's stuck with you?
Oh man, so you can say the one with Big Bird flying naked. That's probably one of them. But I'll give you another one, really cool one. There was this series called Fire and Ice. Welcome to Smallville, right?
Yeah. And
I don't know if you read it.
I haven't read it, but I'm curious what you're going to say from it.
Okay. So, minor spoilers here. Basically, they get in trouble with Superman, Fire and Ice, because they're doing like public stunts to make themselves like look good, so they can get called back to the Justice League, basically. And they do at the very beginning, they do something they were not supposed to, and they get in Superman's bad side. So to punish them, he sends them to Smallville to kind of like humble them, right?
Yeah.
And one thing leads to another, but eventually, Martha Wayne decides that, Fire and Ice need to unwind a little and relax or whatever. So she invites them to a drag show in Smallville. Martha Kent.
Yeah.
Right. She invites them to a drag show, right? Like super in character of Martha Kent to be open-minded and woke and all these things, right? It was amazing. They go to the drag show, they're enjoying themselves, and some people from Smallville are not as open-minded, so they're like protesting the show, right? So when they go outside, there's people with signs and protesting, saying all these things, and Fire, who wasn't even at the drag show, she sees that they're bothering Tora, Ice, and Martha Kent, and she punches one of the people from from the people protesting. She just punches, like it just goes flying off the page. It's hilarious.
Dude, it's good. I gotta check that one out. I gotta check that out.
I'm telling you, that's probably one of the funniest things I read.
Listen, y'all, if you want a well-rounded recommendation, you gotta check out Year, because everything you've told me, I literally, like, when we get done with this, I just want to go read them. Like, I want to have fun. I want to laugh. I want to cry. I want to jump. I want to shout. Like, I love that, man. Good recommendation. Great recommendations. All fitting. They all sound fantastic. Love it. Now, listen, real quick. We've had a lot of positivity, lots of positivity on this, but I do want to know what project or moment didn't hit like you expected it to. What was your biggest disappointment of 2024?
I want to say the Harley Quinn comics, the last arc, I want to say before the all-in era began. Well, basically during the Dawn of DC era, like the last arc that Harley Quinn had there, it was like this multiverse story that did not hit for me like at all. And I read it through, like I pushed through to the end, hoping that it would get better, and it just didn't. And the art was by Sweeney Boo, and I like Sweeney Boo's art, but in like small portions, not like an entire run. I just couldn't do it. And then finally, they changed artists to, I want to say, Natasha Bustos, and they were basically grounding the character of Harley Quinn. She was gonna be now, and this is hilarious. She was gonna don her old like Harley Quinn costume, like the red and black, like from the animated series, right? A classic, right? Love it. We were starting great there. She was going to tag along bad guys whenever they were on missions or doing whatever it is that they do, and she was going to like psychoanalyze them so she could give them advice and counsel to like kind of like better their lives, not to like get them to stop doing crime, but help them with like, you know, their psychology and their emotional baggage and all that. I was like, this is great, right? She goes on in this first mission with these two characters called the Body Doubles, and while they're like robbing these people on a yacht on open sea, she's over there like taking notes, like, how does this make you feel? Okay, what do you think that you do? Like, she's like psychoanalyzing analyzing them. It's hilarious, right? And it kept going for like 2 more issues, and then on the third issues, it completely just turned into like, it was completely abandoned. The whole Harley studying these other like C tier and D tier villains just went out the window. And I was so disappointed when that happened. I had to drop the book because I was expecting that to actually, I don't know, be like a revolving door for characters, so we could like see the writer analyze these characters through Harley Quinn. Like, to me, that was an interesting take on Harley Quinn, right? Because sometimes she turns into like Deadpool, you know, with the whole 4-wall break, or she can be like a character from the Looney Tunes with Toon Force and all this, you know, wacky stuff, which is cool, right? If you like that, I like it too, and you know, in small doses. But going from that whole multiverse era, and I think Tini Howard was writing that, it just didn't hit for me, especially because there was a miniseries called Harley Quinn Messes Up the Multiverse, which is basically the same premise, kind of like the same plot, traveling across the multiverse, breaking stuff up to then fix it. That one was way better than the main title of Harley Quinn. So it was basically like seeing this character in a similar plot in 2 different books, and the main title did not pull it through like that one mini series, at least in my opinion.
Oh, sure. No, those are good. I like that point though. Like, it's exciting when you get perspectives of other characters through the eyes of a character that you like and respect, and you're like, okay, this is a chance to elevate that character, or like get a different perspective or a new light, which then can evolve like the main character of the story and all that. And then sometimes you'll read or watch a show, and then it's just like midway through it flips. You're like, what? This is not what I thought it was gonna be. No, that's good. That's interesting. So we talked about what was good. We talked about new series. We talked about ongoing series. We talked about what was disappointing. What are you looking forward to most in 2025?
Oh man, I'm looking forward to The New Gods by Ram V. I cannot tell you, I am a huge Big Barda and Mr. Miracle fan. Like I collect. I'm a little OCD when I collect, right? I like collecting characters, and if said character is like mentioned or a bare minimum cameo in a background in one panel of the entire book, I'm getting that book. I'm sorry. That's just how how I work. Okay. So with that being said, I'm very big on Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, and part of that is because I'm a fan of Jack Kirby, right? So I'm excited to see what Ram V is going to do in that series.
Awesome. Well, no, all good suggestions, all great things. But here, you got to tell the people where can they find you on your social medias and YouTube.
Oh man, YearOfTheCollector and every platform you can think of. On TikTok. If TikTok is still up when you watch this, I'm there still. I'm gonna be there until they close the doors down and shut the lights off. I'm not leaving. But YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, Threads, I'm all over the place. Just look me at Year of the Collector. I also do comic book reviews for Nerd Initiative. So if you like to read about a comic before you spend your money on it, I'll give you my honest assessment as a fan, reader, and collector myself. Reviews come out every Wednesday. Sometimes I do video reviews, right? But mostly it's written reviews. And I also do my own reviews on League of Comic Geeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have my own profile over there where you pull comics and all that, and I have my own personal reviews and all the stuff in there too. So anywhere you go online, just Year the Collector, I'm in there. I do, like I said, comic book reviews, comic book content. Sometimes I just record myself and my wife while I explain to my wife what happened on a comic book, just to get her honest, unbiased reaction to the craziness that comic books can be.
Love it. And quick shout out, some of my favorite written reviews, definitely by Year the Collector. We appreciate you here at Point 3 Podcast. We will see you in the next one. All right, so we are back again with yet another fantastic creator here on the Point 3 Podcast for our year-end awards. Everyone, we have RainyyKay joining us today. Okay, how's it going?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. No, we have a lot to get into. We love your perspective that you are bringing to this award show. But first, tell the Point 3 people just a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so as you said, my tag is RainyyKay, but you can call me Kay. No need for the full gov. I always kind of self-identify as a gamer, streamer, full-time reader. So I'm big into Twitch. I love playing video games. I read a lot of books, and don't engage in the outside world because grass is scary.
Oh, 100%. We don't touch it at all. But this year, we want your perspective on 3 main categories. But our first category that we're going to start off with, Kay, we need to know what your show of the year was for 2024.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to take you guys away from maybe your world of media and step a little bit into mine. But it's funny because they're almost adjacent worlds at this point. My show of the year this year was Heartstopper Season 2, featuring the lovely Joe Locke, who has just stepped into the MCU as Wiccan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us some highs, tell us some lows, tell us what really kind of solidified this as, I don't know if that would be on my list of choices, not to say that it's not a bad show or a great show or whatever it might be, but I think, this is kind of the cool thing of getting additional exposure to different, creators and people who are kind of immersed in these worlds. But what really stuck out about this show for you to kind of put it at that top of the list?
Yeah, so the biggest thing about Heartstopper is representation. So it's a show that's developed by Netflix. It's a British cast, and it's an ensemble cast, but with Joe Locke as the focal character. And what it represents is the beauty and the diversity of the LGBTQ plus community. So you have gay representation, bisexual representation, transgender representation, ace, really anything you can think of. And they did deal with a lot of heavy topics this season, including eating disorders and things of that nature. And it's all looked at through the lens of being your high school years. And I think what stood out to me about Heartstopper is that it did it in a way that felt natural, that felt very organically teen. And it's really the kind of show that I wish I had when I was back in high school, so that I could see a little bit of myself on the screen, you know?
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. I think that's super cool to know that, like, sometimes I think you get into some of the teen shows and it feels like maybe overly dramatic or too over the top, or it's just like not relatable in a lot of ways. But like just hearing you talk about some certain themes and elements that the show carried with, especially, I mean, here's the thing. I've watched Agatha and I haven't really, I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen anything of Joe Locke before Agatha all along. Like I really haven't. But just in watching the show through,
I like them.
Yeah, I really did enjoy him as an actor, and the realism, the believability, like the type of shows that I feel like I hear that he's in, or shows where people are like, I felt it.
Yeah. And you know what? I think the parallel to Agatha All Along is that Agatha All Along really feels like the first Marvel project for the girls and the gays. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. You have that strong female ensemble cast with Catherine Hahn coming back. You have legend Patti LuPone. You have Aubrey Plaza. You have what's her name? Debbie Jo Rupp from that 70s show. Yeah, from that 70s show. And so you have this strong female-led cast in the show, as well as, you know, you have Wiccan, who is one of the most prolific LGBTQ characters in the MCU. So I'm interested to see where they go with, first of all, that character, but with the direction as the show as well. Because like I said, it really feels like the first Marvel project that's truly capturing the girlies and the gays.
No, that's a great point. That's a fantastic point. SP or Hero, do you have anything on it?
No, I was gonna say, and it's really cool to see that as your top show too, because it's quickly looking it up, it seems like it's on Netflix, and Netflix being such a big powerhouse when it comes to churning out shows that you would think that it could maybe get lost in a shuffle, you know, vying for attention, but it being so high up for you is really cool to see. And then again, what it means to a lot of people too, you know, that can see themselves in that, especially kind of like you guys were saying, especially with the teen aspect, where capturing that essence is really hard. It's really hard, especially for like a modern day teen thing, as a lot of people are experiencing it now. For them to capture it so well and resonate with people, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really quick, something just popped in my head. Okay, how did you come across the show? Because I know for a lot of people, I love hearing the story of like, how did you find your show of the year? Like, is it something you anticipated? Was it something you were just scrolling through Netflix and it was recommended, just kind of based on the feed? Like, how did you stumble upon it or just get to it?
Yeah, so in the last year to 2 years, I've really tried to focus on consuming more queer media. I dealt with a lot of shame and a lot of anxiety when I was growing up and starting to grapple with coming out and coming into my own identity. But now that I'm a little older and I've really found a comfortability with who I am and, you know, what I feel, I've really wanted to delve into the community more, and I've done that in a lot of the shows and movies that I've been watching in the last couple of years. As for Heartstopper, I think it was something on Twitter one day. Somebody was talking about it. And I hadn't really heard about it. Netflix didn't really advertise season 1 all that much. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. Let me get in there. And I would say really the turnaround between season 1 and season 2, I think it quickly became a cult classic and a fan favorite. And to see it way more amplified for the second season, to see people, you know, resonating with it and wanting to see more was a great thing as a fan to see happen.
Love it. SB?
I was gonna say I love that. First of all, I love finding out how people find out their favorite stuff. I have never seen it before, but after reading some reviews and hearing you talk about it, it makes me want to go watch it. Would you say it's more of like a realistic, I guess, kind of story than compared to like Euphoria? So I've never seen Euphoria either. So I always hear some crazy stories of like teens will never do any of like half the stuff in that show.
Here's the thing. I think just in my upbringing, I bridge a really interesting gap. Because I grew up in an underprivileged community, and a lot of my school experience, I did see people, getting into drugs and getting into violence and getting into crime. But that doesn't make me blind to the fact that everybody has unique experiences. And I think that they both tackle the teen experience from different perspectives, right? What I like about Heartstopper is that it feels very introspective. A lot of the characters, as they move through things, you as a viewer are kind of brought along through that journey, through their way of thinking and through their experience. And I think that's what I really enjoy about Heartstopper over Euphoria, is that you get those narrative touch points where you're in it with the character, as opposed to just observing from the outside.
A quick question: does it give you time to like settle into those feelings that you get from it, or does it kind of the plot move you along to where you really can't stay in the moment? It's on to the next piece, on to the next episode, on to the season finale, and then the show's done.
I'd say it's paced really, really well. And stylistically, they have a cute little thing in the show where when their characters are feeling intense feelings, there's like little doodles that come up on the screen. And I think that's nice, because it's an indicator to the audience that like, oh, this is a really pivotal moment for this character. Yeah.
No, I like that. Some shows, like they let you sit in it and they drag the moments on, but then some are kind of like a reminder to like kind of like snap you back to it, but then also reinforce the message that's kind of being portrayed in that specific scene or moment. So I really do. I like that. No, it sounds like a fantastic show.
Again, thanks for coming on and joining us, and bringing your awesome perspective into, I think, and opening our minds to things that we never thought about. But if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been a great conversation, and your questions, honestly, were thought-provoking beyond even what I was thinking about these projects that I was talking about. So that was great. But yeah, RainyyKay, 2 Y's in Rainy on all socials. So easy to find.
Awesome. Perfect. We appreciate having you.
Thank you so much.
Now, with our 2020 Best of 2024 award video, we have guest FunkoEyre joining us today to go over his Best of 2024. So, FunkoEyre, welcome in. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you. Thank y'all for having me on here.
2024 had a lot of ups and downs across all fandoms. So, without further ado, let's get into your Best of 2024 nominees, and start off with, what was your best movie of 2024? There's a lot to choose from, so I'm very excited to hear your thoughts.
Kevin Smith dropped a movie called the 4:30 movie. It really connected with me because it was like, I don't know. It connected with me on a personal level. The reviews aren't the best for it on Letterboxd, but I don't really trust those reviews when they're going against what I say. So it was special to watch in the theater. There was a smaller theater that I went to watch it, and it was a really cool experience. The ending of it gives a little Clerks Easter egg. You see the quick shop. That's not necessarily a spoiler, but still, I love the movie. It's a comedy. It might just be a comedy because it is Kevin Smith, but comedy drama maybe. It's a really
came out recently too, back in September.
Yeah, the trailer came out like a week before the movie came out, so it wasn't too big. It was more of Kevin Smith's like smaller release, but it's a semi-autobiography or something like that. It's not 100% his backstory or whatever, but it's kind of a spin-off of his childhood. It takes place in his childhood movie theater because he bought it, which I think is pretty cool.
Epic power move.
Fun fact. What would you say has been your biggest disappointment project of 2024?
I think Borderlands. I think that's.
Ooh.
Oh, that's
that's
a
it. I
good
mean,
one. I forgot.
you
Honestly,
had-
I forgot that movie came out this year.
You had Jack Black, Kevin Hart, Ariana Greenblatt, Kate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis, and that's the movie you could make. I will say the costuming is incredible. Looks. I never played any of the games, but I know the costumes look accurate because I know who Psycho Bandit is, and I know Tiny Teen. I know like the characters, and the costumes look awesome. But
That's what sold me on the first trailer for it. I was
Yeah.
like, this looks like I'm a big Borderlands gamer. I grew up with 1, 2, I played 3 with a couple friends recently the last couple years. I'm excited for 4 coming out next year. That trailer just dropped at the Game Awards. But that movie just like I was hyped for it on the trailer. I watched my trailer reaction for it. I'm like, this could be really good. And as more and more came out, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense on why they're like using these actors or like these characters in such way. And it was just it had a big box office disappointment too, naming off all those freaking A-list actors and actresses, and they had to pay out with not too much of profit. What are you most looking forward to in 2025 that you want to not disappoint you?
It's a really hard question, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Fantastic Four. For obvious reasons. There's a lot of movies coming out next year.
What makes you so excited for Fantastic Four?
I would love to be invited to that premiere. As much as I don't think it will happen, I gotta get plane tickets or something. I don't even know. I like Vanessa Kirby, Sue Storm. I like the Thing actor. I can't even think about it, but I love
Yvonne Moss,
yeah. I love the Bear, and to see his character as the Thing would be perfect. I love Pedro Pascal. And I like Joseph Quinn. He's not in a lot of stuff, so it's an odd casting choice. I think it'll be good. For Kevin Feige to finally get his hands on Fantastic Four, we can actually get a decent Fantastic, or a good to perfect Fantastic Four movie, if I can say that. Finally get a real Galactus. Finally get Mole Man if he shows up. But I'm excited for it. Like, I'm gonna be there opening day all day probably. I watched Deadpool and Wolverine 6 times because Johnny Storm's in it. I don't know how many times I'm gonna watch Fantastic Four.
God. Especially if you get your main character Doom in there too.
Yeah.
You'll probably break the record for most times someone saw a movie in theater.
Probably. You should probably post a video about every time. It's like 1 second per trip. A full minute video right there.
Yeah.
I like it.
Listen, we appreciate you being on and appreciate all the thoughts that you gave us, but let the Point 3 people know where they can find you on socials.
It should be everywhere. It's FunkoEyre. Some of them are Keegan Eric. I kind of changed it to my real name. At some places like Instagram, maybe Letterboxd. But FunkoEyre should work on every social that I have. Maybe every social that's out there. Currently kickstarting the podcast, the on-air podcast.
Hey, go support your boy over there at the podcast and obviously on socials. Fun fact, we all met on what? TikTok,
yeah.
TikTok, yeah. So, awesome world. But hey, man, we appreciate you. And here's to 2025 and a near perfect to perfect Fantastic Four movie. I'm holding you to it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on here, though.
Absolutely, man.
It's pretty cool.
Well, we love having you. Stay tuned. Check out all FunkoEyre stuff.
Thank you.
See you guys for the next one. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the 2024 Point 3 podcast end of year awards. Joining us today is going to be a good friend of the channel, Nate from ThwipMedia. What's going on, Nate?
Doing good. How about you guys?
Crushing it as always.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, how does Shadow Brando's beard look right now, though? I mean, it's just on point.
Pretty good.
6.3.
I have to say.
Oh my god.
Bright as a star, though.
Right.
Unfortunately.
We're 50% clean cut, 50% nice and hairy, but
hold on. I can get.
Uh-oh.
We can have 100% glasses though.
Oh, there we go.
Let's go.
Glasses
Hey.
Do that.
0.8.
16
Can we get some more
eyes.
frames?
Wow, look at that map. They're all
Okay,
over
no,
this.
that looks really bad on the eyes. I have to say.
No. All good stuff. All good stuff. Well, Nate, we are excited to hear from you today. But to kick us off, we want to know, what is your best superhero project from 2024?
I think if anyone that is familiar with my channel and the stuff that I've done over the past year and certain streams that I've done for my Project Assemble show, is that I can't get enough of X-Men 97. I think that is by far, in my opinion, the best superhero piece of content to come out of this year. It was one that we knew had a lot going for it. Obviously a revival of the 90s series. It was in development for a super long time. The head writer was let go just before it premiered, so it was like there was a lot of worry around it at that point. And they dropped the first 2 episodes and everyone was hooked. Each week after that, just constant hit after hit after hit. And it's made so much of how I view the X-Men just that much bigger. Like, they're my favorite Marvel team, and just seeing them portrayed in that series and the amount of care that they had, the storytelling in it, the character moments, like Magneto, I think is the best character in that series for me. Like, just incredibly written, incredibly well done. Episode 5, I'd say, is the best one. That was making me feel so much going through the entire last 20 minutes of it. Like, one of the greatest episodes of TV I think I've ever seen. Just the entire show as a whole made me feel so much, and it really made me care a whole lot more for this set of characters. And then kind of teasing what could be coming in season 2 just makes it that much more special. Like, you have a foundation here. This is, for a lot of people, the introduction to the X-Men, basically, because they haven't been in a lot of movies lately. This is what a lot of people, I think, have as their stepping stone into the X-Men, and season 2 is just going to build off of that, and whatever else they do with that series is going to be the X-Men for this new generation. And obviously the movies will get to that too, but this series, I think from start to finish was just perfect. Like, not a single down moment, except for, I don't know, episode 4, I believe, was kind of like it was a half and half, but still, compared to the rest, like, the highs completely outweigh the lows in this series. Just extremely well done, and by far the best superhero piece of content this year.
Waiting for one of them to come off and say, I know you guys got a question for me. You can't throw out X-Men 97 in the Point 3 podcast silent.
Right.
I
No.
saw you unmuted your mic, so I thought you were gonna ask something. I'm not gonna lie.
Probably.
I'll start off with a question.
Okay.
Who was your favorite character from X-Men 97?
Magneto. Yeah, by far.
Good choice.
He's
Good choice.
just so good. Like, just having his character development from the guy that's always hated Charles's ideology. Like, mutants will never be able to coexist with humans, and that's just in their nature. They're never going to accept us. And now Charles is gone, and he's tasked with carrying on that task that Charles wanted to have. And now he's like, okay, I'll give it a shot, I'll see how it goes. Then Genosha happens, and then he's like, well, screw that. I'm going back to my old ways. Because the humans obviously just showed us that they're never going to accept us. And they just annihilated like a huge number of our people. So yeah, screw them. Let's go to war. That kind of thing. Just so good.
It's a truly beautiful show. I remember watching that episode 5 and like going absolutely
I was
crazy waiting for the next episode.
Yeah.
Like, that week between them was freaking... That was a long week.
I was shaking, I was tearing up, goosebumps. Like, that was an insane episode. Like, you couldn't have seen it coming either. It was just like, oh, this is happening. Okay. And then, like, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies. And the way they end it, it's like that could have been the season finale. I would have been pissed if it was. But that could have
They did like a mid-season break. Like Invincible.
They could have taken a huge break after that, and it would have angered a lot of people, so I'm glad they didn't. But just the way the stakes were like elevated to a whole new level in that episode. And they weren't afraid to go mature at all in this series. Like, you look at it, it's like, okay, it's a cartoon, it's for kids. They deal with some really mature themes in this series, and they weren't afraid to go there at all. So I'm curious to see if they carry on those elements into the new season, because they have a new writer now, so I'm kind of skeptical on how that's going to go. And apparently they've reworked the entire story, so that's kind of worrying me. But season 1, just incredible.
Well, so what would you say to the people that made me have the criticism against the show of them burning too fast through these storylines, right? Because some of these storylines, at least in comics, took place over a really long time, a couple of years or so. How would you say, do you think that was an issue with the show? Do you see it being an issue for the future?
I think based off what this season showed us, then they adapted loosely Fatal Attractions, and there's a little bit of Grant Morrison's X-Men in there too with Genosha. But I don't think that's really something you need to be worried about, because these are people, like Feige has said, he's always wanted to do X-Men properly, and I think having him over it, I don't think you need to be worried at all about these characters. Like, he obviously cares a lot about them. I think he knows what's best in terms of the direction. So going forward, I don't think you really need to really worry about rushing through storylines, because I think they've balanced it out really well across season 1. And then I think they're going to carry that into season 2, because with the new writer, I'm sure they sat down with them and said, hey, this is how we did season 1. Follow that guideline. Like, do your own thing with it, but you have to realize that you can't just completely fly over this thing or this thing or this thing. Everything needs to be in the same kind of structure, and pay homage to those storylines like they did in season 1. But I don't think it needs to be a huge worry for people that are going into this as fans of the comics, or going into this fresh in that kind of perspective.
Yeah. No, great point. And I think I agree with you, and I think we all do, where it's kind of knowing how to take the fluff out of some of the stories, and giving all the good parts while still creating something new. Because I think that's what people maybe forget, and I think that's what X-Men 97 actually did very well, is still, like you said, paying homage to the books and, clearly taking inspiration, but making its own thing, carving it out and being like, no, this is X-Men 97. Here you go.
Yeah. And it's like I said, this is the X-Men for a new generation of fans, of people that are like, they've been watching the movies this whole time. They probably haven't read the comics or even watched the old show. This is the X-Men for them. So paying homage to those stories and then doing their own thing with it, it really leaves an impact on this generation. And I think in 10, 15 years, they're still going to remember this show the same way that I'm sure you guys did with the 90s series. That is their definitive X-Men.
Would you say there's a character beyond Magneto that maybe you're glad they did a little better, that they portrayed better in X-Men 97?
Nightcrawler, for sure.
Yeah.
Nightcrawler is one of my favorite X-Men characters. He's in my top 3, and just the authentic, like, German, kind of like, you know, he's a priest too, but they really lean in all of his character. Like, when he came into episode 5, I was shocked. Like, I was like, oh my god, Nightcrawler's in this, and he was so good. The humor he brings is really good. He's just like a playful character. And then when the end of episode 5 happens and he's completely changed, and he views, like, he needs to be the voice of reason within the team. And then you get that awesome fight scene with him and Wolverine fighting the Prime Sentinels in the mansion. That was awesome. And just the way he fights and all that. Seeing the inside of the Banff too, that was awesome. I did not think they'd go there, but that's really cool that they chose to do that. So I hope we see more of Nightcrawler in season 2 in the same kind of badass way that we did going into the end of season 1.
He had one of my favorite lines of the show when him and Wolverine were fighting, and Wolverine goes, "I got 6 claws for you, or 6 blades for you," and Nightcrawler just pops up and goes, "Add 2 more to that." That went
Awesome.
so hard.
And then he's got the dual swords too, and awesome. Yeah. What they probably don't realize is, I was thinking this while watching it, like, they're straight up murdering people. Like, if there was somehow a way to reverse the Prime Sentinel thing, they're just straight up chopping them into pieces and then just straight up murdering them.
Yeah.
Show up to my house, you dealt with.
Yeah.
I guess,
Nate,
but
Nate, real quick. At what point did you feel that this was the show of the year? Not potentially the show of the year, but did you feel at any point during the series this is it?
I think it was episode 5. Like, what they did in that, it's like, it's so peaceful, like everything's great. There's something going on back at home. And then out of nowhere, there's a sense of something doesn't feel right. And then they execute it so perfectly, how all of a sudden everything goes wrong. And then from that moment on, I was like, okay, this show is like up here. Like, that, the way they executed that was so well done. And the show from that point forward did not go down at all. It stayed up. The stakes are up here. This is what's happening. This is who's involved. And this is what could happen. And it just kept going up from there. It was like episode 5 really pushed it into the way that, yeah, anything is on the table. Anything can happen.
And I think that's what, for a lot of people, like, best project, as we've kind of gone through this process, those are some of the things we've either thought as we've kind of went through our own individual lists, but also things we've heard is there's this moment that happens in the show to where you get a lot of sense and emotion and anticipation and expectation. And for us, especially in this space, being a comic fan, being a superhero fan, it's really hard to make you feel that way.
Yeah, for sure.
We know what happens in a lot of these stories. We know what these characters are about. But when you can take all that and really blend these moments together to give us that OMG moment, I mean, I think that's kind of an auto, S tier type of show. And if, again, they keep the stakes and run with it like they did, I'm with you. And I'm really glad that you said that. But I think a lot of people would echo that for X-Men 97 of like, when did you know? You're like, I knew when I had no idea what was about to happen, and then it happened.
But the other big thing, this is animation. It made people feel this way through animation. This is like a movie level event that just happened, and the animation is making you feel this way too. So that's big in that way as well.
Real quick, not to spend too much time on this, but can you talk to us a little bit more about it being animation, how that surprised you or didn't, and is it possible, do you think it's possible for Marvel to give you what you felt in episode 5 in a live action version of maybe an X-Men team up movie?
Like basically mirroring the exact same thing, but in live action.
Yeah, do you think it would elicit the same response?
For a lot of people, this was, like I said, their first introduction to X-Men. In episode 5, the halfway point, you're feeling that way. But us as fans, we know these characters. We know what they've been through before this and all that. So we have that connection, and it means maybe a little bit more to us than it did the general audience. But I think in live action, I don't know, I think it could be done. It's just you can maybe do a lot more in animation in terms of what you're allowed to do, maybe, because live action you're so limited with, you know, the CGI, the people in it, that kind of thing. And especially with this being a standalone thing, it has no ties to the greater universe at all, so you don't really need to watch anything before seeing this. In the movies, you'd presumably have to, you know, catch up on a lot of things that happened leading up to this point. And nailing a moment, an emotional moment that means so much to that team and that story in live action, I think would hit just a little bit differently, because I think you can show it much more intimately in animation, like they did. When Rogue sees Magneto get killed and everything just stops, and you, like, it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's like very anime inspired. Like you see the tears, you see the blood, you see her like rageful, and the way they just stylize it, where she just lets loose and goes after the Sentinel, and Remy has to try to stop her. I don't think you can portray that really in live action the same way the emotion is shown in the animation in that moment. So I think animation wise, it works better for that kind of moment to happen.
Well said. Very well said.
I don't know if that was too long, but yeah.
We'll find out in editing. I'm just kidding.
It's perfect.
Well, I pray for whoever has to edit that.
We're going to put 30 seconds on the clock. We're going to rapid fire you.
All right.
So you got to be on your toes. Got to be on your toes.
I'm ready. I am ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Nate from ThwipMedia, what is the biggest surprise project of the year?
Oh, man. Okay. Piano lesson, I'll say.
Okay.
Absolutely loved it.
All right. What was your biggest disappointment of the year?
Joker, for sure.
Fair enough. And
Yeah.
what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Daredevil Born Again.
Bing, 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 bing. He made it. He made it.
Let's go.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. There's no pressure at all. I know some people are like, oh, I don't know. I wasn't ready for it. And this is like pre the form going out, but no, you crushed it. You crushed it. All right. Tell the Point 3 people where they can find you on socials.
You can find me on X at nsmith_616. You can find me on Blue Sky. Now I'm starting to post there. nsmith616 at, I guess, the Blue Sky social, whatever. Discord, Smith N. That's basically what I've got right now. And yeah, check out my channel at ThwipMedia.
There we go. Give it up, Nate from ThwipMedia, everyone. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Always.